All right, so if everyone's ready, we'll get started. Good morning, everyone. My name is Evan Cullinane. I am the Business Development Manager for our Rockwell and Industrial Services Group, known as ASP. The goal today is to introduce you to one of our core services, the Installed Base Evaluation, or IBE, give you a quick look at some of the deliverables, and answer some questions regarding what customer profiles are a good fit for the service, and what can they expect to gain from it. So ideally, we'll keep this relatively informal. If you guys have some questions, if you want to have some discussion, obviously we can do so. But I understand it is relatively early on a Monday, especially one that was supposed to be a holiday weekend. So if that's not the case, by all means, I won't be offended. So first off, what exactly is an IBE? An IBE, by definition, is a site-delivered service that provides actionable intelligence to help customers make data-driven decisions regarding the support and obsolescence management of your installed base assets. So to simplify, an IBE is a detailed look into your plant assets that is broken down in a way that is easy for you, the customer, to digest and understand. Through the service, you'll gain a number of different insights, specifically lifecycle status of all Rockwell hardware, whether installed or in your storeroom, classified as either active, active mature, end of life, or discontinued. You'll get a full breakdown of your spare parts and how they compare to Rockwell's recommended spare parts, a detailed analysis of the condition of your panels, a breakdown of recommended migrations for obsolete equipment, as well as what we find to be most important, a detailed breakdown of this equipment within the facility by area, location, machine, panel, and individual assets. So this allows you to make those data decisions to figure out which of your assets have the highest risk to really bring down your production. So what needs the most immediate attention? So we've jumped into a little bit of an overview. Let's actually dig into some of the deliverables. If anyone has any questions on kind of just what we went over briefly there, please let me know. I'm going to assume not, so we'll continue. So one thing to keep in mind is, we're only going to highlight a few key things here. Within the IBE, there is a ton of information to be covered. So we'll focus on a few of the things that we think, bring some immediate value. So first off, the IBE is delivered in two different ways. The traditional IBE deliverable, which is an EXE program, similar to what you're seeing here. Really, that pulls together all of the information and data that they have and gives you a nice interface to kind of take a look at it. The other way is My Equipment, which we'll jump into a little bit after. So first off, we're going to look into the executive summary and some of the things that that provides. The executive summary is really a high-level overview of your IBE. So some of the things you're going to see there is your collection overview. How many panels did we collect? How many total items did we have? And how many unique part numbers were there out there? This will include, depending on what level you did, your Rockwell Automation and third party, or specifically just your Rockwell Automation. Next, we'll jump into the evaluation of your automation equipment. So this is an overall view. So we have it broken down by your installed base. So what is the value of what's actually currently installed on your plant floor? What is the value of your spare parts? And what is the value of the stash inventory you have? So inventory that's not included on your installed base or within your spare parts storeroom, but might be floating around in panels elsewhere throughout the facility or somewhere else in maybe your automation manager's room, something that's just simply not accounted for. Within that, we'll actually take a look at a breakdown of your spare parts. So giving you a valuation of those spare parts broken down by what's actually active. So active is actually installed on your plant floor. Excess active. So what is above and beyond what Rockwell recommends you to have for these spare parts? You have more in your storeroom than you need to have. Could we manage that and maybe lower that number down? Buy some additional assets that you guys actually do need. And here in the red, you're seeing your inactive spare parts. So stuff that's not installed anywhere within your facility that you're actually holding on to in your storeroom. So really no need to have this inventory. If you have a sister facility, maybe you can send it there. You can find different opportunities to maybe write that off, other things like that. So how can we eliminate some of this additional carrying cost that you guys are incurring year after year? Next, we'll dig into the actual life cycle. So here we're looking at an overall view of the entire facility. We've got a detailed breakdown by location. Specifically for this example, we're going to focus on end of life and discontinued. Really that's what the areas we want to focus on. Here we're going to focus specifically on biscuits processing. So I've actually, put together a few different examples for us to take a look at and see how this data actually works together. So Keep in mind biscuits processing as we continue moving through here. Next, as we continue on the life cycle status, we're going to take a look at which of those locations have the most discontinued parts without spares. So if I have discontinued parts where I know I can't buy any more equipment for that, where am I most at risk is going to be with those areas. So again, you see here biscuits processing in gray, 36 discontinued parts with no spares. Next, we'll take a look at the condition of our actual spare parts. So as we go through and we do our data collection, we're taking a look at the condition of those spare parts as well. So are they in good shape? Do I know that they're going to work next time I bring them out there? Is the condition in open packaging? It looks like they're still good, but hey, we're not 100% sure the package is open. Let's make a note of that. Used. Is this something that's already been pulled out? Is it going to work? We're not really sure. We'll put that there. And questionable. It looks like it's been used. It's maybe a little dinged up. We're not sure if it's going to work at all. So we put that as questionable. And finally, we'll take a look at your stash inventory as well. Again, stash is generally stuff that has been pulled out or used somewhere else. So you'll see a lot of this is going to be as either other or used condition. Generally something that we won't really trust to put on our plant floor. Finally, as going through the summary overview, the last thing we look at is the panel condition, specifically environmental conditions. Is there any water, ingress, dirt, so on and so forth getting in there? How does the wiring and grounding look? Ventilation, is it in a really, really hot area? Does it need an air conditioner? Does it have ventilation? Is it building up humidity? So on and so forth. So now that we've kind of gone through the high-level overview, let's dig into some of the actual deliverables here. Does anyone have any questions on the stuff we just kind of jumped into, or can we continue moving forward? Assuming no questions, we'll continue going forward. So as I stated a little bit earlier, we're going to focus specifically on biscuits processing for this example. So there's a number of different machines within biscuits processing. Specifically, what we're going to take a look at is our line 1B sheeting. So it's 72% end of life or discontinued, which obviously is pretty high. So an area that we would maybe want to focus on as we're going through. So now that we have an idea of what specific machine and what location we want to focus on, let's actually figure out what's exactly in those panels so we can, really dig into it and understand what we have there. So I've gone ahead and actually jumped to that page already, but this is our detailed installed base report. This will show you exactly what's in all of your machines down to the individual asset here. So what we're seeing is our area is processing plant 2, biscuits processing, line 1B sheeting is the machine, and we're actually looking at one of 2 panels here. Now we can see a lot of information here. We've got our quantities, our manufacturers, our part numbers, and a little bit of a description of the part itself. Beyond that, we also have our discontinued, active mature, end of life, or active if that was there as well. Now, one of the things that I do want to point out is that in addition to the standard deliverable as seen here, ASP actually goes and takes it a step further. What we do is we actually take pictures of the individual panels on the plant floor, specifically from the outside so you can see the enclosures, and then inside we'll take a picture of each section. This just gives our customers the ability to really easily communicate what they're looking at. So if you have a plant manager who is remote and you have a plant technician on the floor, they can have a conversation of exactly what they're looking at, kind of be able to point to specific areas of the panel and really figure out, hey, listen, if we need to add a switch or add something to this, do we have the room to it, and can we have a real actual conversation about it that makes some sense? So if we want to find a little bit more information about this panel specifically, we can actually dig into this Excel sheet here. Again, I've already pared this down, so I went from looking at the entire facility down to just biscuits processing, down to line B sheeting, and down to the asset itself. So what we're seeing here is we've got a bunch of drives, 160 drives that are discontinued. We've got a bunch of PLC 5 and a few other things here as well. Now, one of the things I do want to point out is this was a sample IBE report, so some of the information is going to be missing. One of the things that we would highlight here generally is the replacement part numbers. If Rockwell does have a replacement part number for a specific item, they'll add that here, and we can help you guys immediately look for a migration path for that. Finally, one of the things that I want to kind of just point out really quickly is once you get to this point and you understand what you have and what you want to look at, we can really start digging into, okay, well, what do we have in our storeroom to compare to what we actually have on the plant floor? So again, I've jumped into a little bit ahead of myself and jumped into some of the 160 drives. So here we're getting a little more additional information on that. So again, replacement part number would be highlighted here, our overall installed quantity compared to our recommended spares, and then our storeroom spares. And again, this gives you some other information there as well, including some excess stuff. So again, some of that excess inventory that we spoke about earlier would be showed here. This also gives you your list price, recommended prices, insufficient stuff. A lot of information here. I won't dig into a little bit of everything, but just to give you an overview. So you've heard me mention My Equipment a couple of times. So what exactly is My Equipment? My Equipment is a nice little tool that they've added to the IBE to make it easier for our customers to really use and share within their organization. So some of the key benefits are, again, it's ease. Very easy to use, easy to move around, and everyone can pretty much use it. It can be accessed at any time. You can share it throughout your organization. So you have one person within the organization who really holds the keys to it, but all you have to do is give them your email address and they'll sign you up for it and you'll have access to it as well. One of the other key features is it has a live lifecycle update. So as equipment goes through its different stages of, I guess, its life cycle, specifically from active mature to end of life or end of life to discontinued, you'll actually get an update on that. So as you can see, My Equipment brings a lot of the same information to you, but can we actually navigate this in the same way? So let's jump into that a little bit. So one of the things we'll look at is life cycle. Again, we're focusing on that a lot here. And I just mentioned to you that the IBE tool on My Equipment will actually give you a live update of that life cycle analysis. So you can see here, I've already gone ahead again and dug into biscuits processing and line 1B sheeting. What we can see is there's a big difference now between the life cycle status. So instead of a lot of that equipment being end of life, it's now been changed over to discontinued. So you're seeing that live life cycle status change. So pretty nice there, pretty cool little thing to show. So as we scroll down here, you'll actually see those life cycle changes over time. Now this is specifically set to the last 30 days. So, obviously that has changed life cycle way before that. But, again, a nice little breakdown of those different things and showing you when that actually changed over. So you can give your guys at Rockwell or Total and Hughes a call and say, hey, listen, we just went from end of life to discontinued. Do I have the ability to buy anything remaining of that inventory, or do I need to start immediately looking for a migration plan going forward? So a lot of the same breakdowns down here where you'll see the part numbers, facility, area, location, all of that broken down. So it really gives you the ability to show that IBE tool throughout your entire organization and share some of that data. So a pretty cool thing to have. As we look into the storeroom itself, again, just another tab here. I need to point out to you again that this is, a sample IBE, so not everything is going to be absolutely correct. But this is where they'll give you those actual recommended spares. They'll break down that spares analysis and give you the discontinued part numbers with no spares. So obviously this wasn't reflected correctly off of the information that they pulled, but you can see where if this information was here, you'd be able to quickly identify what part numbers I have out there that are discontinued with no spares, and be able to quickly say, hey, listen, maybe we need to take a look at that, and maybe we need to either create a path for going forward with the migration plan, or we really need to identify, hey, listen, can we go procure any more of those assets now to have them in our storeroom? So as you can see, My Equipment's a pretty nice little tool to help you communicate across your organization and assist you in making decisions on the plant floor. I don't want to spend too much of our time kind of digging through this stuff. So if you want a deeper demo, please don't hesitate to reach out. Either myself, Dennison, or William can definitely help you out with that. So before we wrap up on the IBE and kind of jump into the next little thing we want to speak about, what customer profiles are a good fit for this service? So one of the things that we always like to do is have not only our customers, but our sales guys ask the same questions to themselves if they know the facility they're talking about. One of the things that I want to point out is less than 20% of companies can answer yes to more than 2 of these questions. They're pretty basic questions, and it really boils down to having an understanding of your facility. So do you have an accurate plant model that identifies all physical assets in your plant? Do you know which parts are still being manufactured? Do you have the right spare parts if a critical machine goes down? Do you have an updated, complete bill of materials for your critical assets? Do you know which parts have been announced for discontinuation or are already discontinued? And do you have an efficient and accurate process for maintaining storeroom inventory? So really the questions all boil down to the same thing. Do you have a real understanding of what is installed in your facility and how to support it? If not, please allow us to jump in and give you a hand. An IBE is a great tool to have at your disposal and helps you to align your organizational goals with what is actually happening on your production area. But finally, to build off the IBE, I want to introduce Denison Dukovic. He's our service technician here. He'll be introducing Rockwell's remanufacturing and repair programs. An IBE can simply uncover your obsolescence risks, but we understand you can't migrate everything at once. In order to support that stuff and keep your facility up and running, this is a great service to utilize and something that we really need to make sure our customers are aware of going forward.
Hey, good morning, guys. So remanufacturing is a process by which Rockwell returns a used piece of Rockwell equipment to like new condition. So they can handle PLCs, VFDs, HMIs, servo controllers, and robotic products, and more. So the asset's taken through a 7-step process with 3 different service levels to choose from. Rockwell leverages 300 employees across 15 locations and over $144 million of repair part inventory. With remanufacturing, the part is given a minimum of 1-year warranty, and it's on the entire unit, not just the components that are replaced. So this is the 7-step process. It starts with receiving the part, and then they'll do the firmware upgrades. They'll replace the marginal and the worn components, as well as the affected components. They'll do functional load testing, and then if applicable, they'll do environmental simulation. After a final quality check, they'll ship it back in custom packaging with anti-static bags. Next slide, please. Here we have 3 service levels. With economy, Rockwell is taking the part you ship and remanufacturing that part in approximately 2 weeks. They'll give you a 12-month warranty on that. This is good for somebody who has a non-functioning spare in a storeroom and wants to get it back to working order without a rush delivery. With the standard service, it takes about 3 to 5 days, and with this service, Rockwell is giving you one of the parts they've remanufactured already, and you're giving them your part. So you get it quicker, and you get the same remanufacturing process as with economy and priority. And then if no exchange stock is available, your unit will be moved to the front of the production line. With this service level, you get an 18-month warranty. With priority, you get a rush delivery the next day. You hand in your part back to Rockwell, they'll remanufacture it and they'll keep it, but you get the same remanufactured part. This comes with a 24-month warranty. This is good for somebody who has a critical process and needs a part really quickly. So in addition to the remanufacturing, Rockwell also does repairs. A lot of people don't know this, but Rockwell is investing a lot in growing the service. Right now they can repair over 80,000 different products for more than 2,000 vendors. They're employing dedicated test equipment and the same expertise and high standards used in remanufacturing. And just like remanufacturing, the entire unit gets a minimum 12-month warranty, not just on the replaced components, but the entire unit. And getting a quote is really easy. You can either call me or email me, or just log on to myrockwell.com. You go to the repairs tab, and here you just fill in some information on the part, submit a couple pictures, and hit submit. Rockwell usually gets back in 24 to 48 hours. And then finally, we have the CHAMP program. This is the Channel Asset Management Program, which is a strategic remanufacturing and repair relationship with customers. This is good for somebody who has a large install base and needs a better handle on their spares and broken down parts. So the way it works is we tag the asset. This allows us to follow it from the storeroom to the plant floor to remanufacturing. I would visit customers at regular intervals and pick up their repairables, and then I would send them out to Rockwell. I'd be helping the customer stay on top of their working spares and preventing them from piling up broken down parts. By tracking the assets, Rockwell can provide repair frequency and spend information for the customer. They can even do an in-service warranty for the product that only goes into effect when it's taken out of the storeroom. So this is a great way that we can help a customer streamline and stay on top of their repair part inventory. And that's it. for this.
So that's about all we have for you guys today. If you guys have any specific questions, anything that you need clarification on, please let us know right now. Otherwise, if you have other questions and want to reach out independently, definitely feel free to do so. This video will also be posted on our Total and Hughes website on YouTube, so please check that out as well. Any questions? All right. Assuming there are no questions, I believe that we will be letting you guys go relatively early. Thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Guys.
Thanks, guys.